Hello. Hello. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen online. Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, we can hear you, coordinator.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome to the 30th webinar of the Water Resources Institute, Ministry of Water and Environment. Under this 30th webinar, we will be looking at a presentation actually by because it will be presenting to us under the title of the webinars will be enhancing real-time data advancing water resources hydrological monitoring in Mpanga Catchment. A lot have been done in Mpanga Catchment under the Albert Water Management Zone. And this catchment has attracted funding from the Hilton Foundation and worked with partners, Water for People, IRC, working in this catchment. And some of the findings and the data that has been being done under this catchment, and also the works that have been being done under this catchment with Support Hilton will be presented. Some have been already presented earlier in earlier webinars, but we are going to have this the 30th webinar also concentrating in the same catchment and under the same Albert Water Management Zone with partners. Without wasting a lot of time, I welcome you all, both here and abroad, to this webinar, and you'll be opening it to discussions between presentations and other comments and discussions from the audience, and I will allow also other members of the organization. We'll be having Water for People also giving some introduction with the County Director Brenda, and then also be allowing also the team leader Water Management Zone also to give some remarks or some opening or some discussions or some introduction about the project and about the zone that are working in, about the catchment that are being worked on, and looking at the either wash, looking at water resources, looking at other activities that impact onto this catchment. Otherwise, I open this one and I let the next presenter or next person to speak, Brenda Achiro, to talk also before we continue to present the findings from this catchment. Thank you, members, and the door is open to you. I just open the door to open the floor to Brenda Achiro to follow up, and then will be followed by Brian, I think from a gentleman from Hilton Foundation, and then Chigozi, and next we'll be having Brian concluding this presentation, and then we'll close our webinar for today. Remember, these webinars happen every last Friday of the month, and are organized by the Ministry of Water and Environment through Water Resources Institute. Thank you, members. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Gwendolyn. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brenda Chiro, the Country Director, Water for People. Water for People in partnership with the Albert Water Management Zone and with funding from the Hilton Foundation, are currently implementing a water resources management nature-based solutions project in the Mpanga Catchment. Water for People as an organization has been operating in Kamwenge, which is within the catchment, for over a decade now. We do pipe water system construction, tapping water from the underground or the surface water. So the Mpanga catchment provides livelihood to several people, thousands of people across over 5 districts, including Kamwenge. So as a development partner, as an entity that has been investing a lot in water supply in the catchment, we are cognizant of conserving both the ground and the surface water. And that is why we have vested interest in water resources management and nature-based solutions in the Mpanga Catchment, because we believe it's a livelihood, not just now, but forever. We should be able to conserve it to serve even the future generation. And so in this project, we particularly are looking at knowledge management, capacity building training, but working, of course, with the Ministry of Water and Environment. And these monthly series give that very good opportunity to share what is emerging from the work that the management zone is doing. And so I'm grateful that our project has been able to contribute as the 30th monthly learning series to the repository of knowledge around water resources management. So it will be very interesting to share and learn on real-time data monitoring to advance water resources management. I'd like to thank you again for joining us during this series, and we look forward to having conversations and even picking up on ways on how we can further improve the project as we serve the people within the catchment and as we protect the catchment. Thank you very much. And I would like to hand over, Dr. Brian, is this to Brett? I'm not sure if he's online.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Brenda. He has not yet joined, but I think at a later time, once he joins, maybe he will give.
Okay, then over to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll hand over to you, Dr. Brian.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam Brenda. From the program, it's actually supposed to be Brett from the foundation, and I will give the wrap up after the session. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Gwendolyn. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Brand. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for this. I think I will let also, as we continue in this discussion, as we continue this webinar, I will allow also Brian to modulate the section, which is the last, and then only when the section of questions, the section of comments, and through that section will be able also to give us the concluding remarks. Otherwise, Chigozi, the floor is yours. Can you proceed to present to us? I hope we have got a number of participants participating online, and we are very grateful for having these participants always coming on air to participate in these webinars. Chigozi, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Chigozi Frank from the Albert Water Management Zone. I am the Senior Hydrological Inspector with the zone and under the Directorate of Water Resources Management. As of today, I'm here to present to you the above mentioned topic, harnessing real-time data, advancing water resources management through hydrological monitoring in the Mpanga Catchment. Yeah, one of the famous scholars gave us this write-up that without data, you are just another person with an opinion. So why do we carry out hydrological monitoring? And why does hydrological monitoring matter to us? First of all, we carry out hydrological monitoring to understand the dynamics of the hydrological cycle. We also have to be informed of the water resources management decisions. Yeah, also monitoring helps us to be able to carry out the predictions and mitigation of floods and droughts throughout in the region, that is specifically in the Mpanga Catchment. We also have to ensure that the water quality and aquatic ecosystem are kept healthy. It is also done to monitor the importance of the catchment restoration measures which are being undertaken in the catchment, in the Mpanga catchment, to see that we are carrying them out effectively and how important they are to the Mpanga system. Mpanga catchment is a strategic water basin within the southern region of Uganda. It covers an area of 4,600 square kilometers, where 6 districts are covered within this area. And the major river within these districts is the Mpanga River, and it's also drains in the Lake George Basin, which is one of the Ramsar sites under the UN Convention. And then finally, all these systems drain in the main basin of the Albert Water Management Zone. The climate by model rainfall pattern of over the Mpanga catchment have 2 rainfall seasons, where the rainfall falls between 1,200 to 1,500 millimeters per year. And the catchment also hosts the Fort Portal City, which is under a critical ecosystem, that is the Kibale National Park. Among the economic activities which are happening within the Mpanga catchment, there is a lot of the population depend on agriculture, where the grow matoke, that is bananas, coffee, maize, even downstream in the George Basin and the Mpanga River itself, people carry out fishing. There is also hydropower production downstream. As you are heading towards the confluence, there is an hydropower system which is installed, producing 18 megawatts of power. It also features valuable wetlands and forest reserves, which are under increasing pressures. As you see in that map, the system has actually a number of monitoring stations which have been established before we included this one, the new telemetric station. Up in number 1, you can see it is Mpanga, which is installed along the Fort Portal Kampala Road. Then we come to number 2. That is the number 2 is the Kabambiro tipping bucket rain gauge to also beef up on the climate data, which is going to be used in the understanding of the climate in the Mpanga catchment. We have number 3. It is Kazo automatic weather station, also try to help us beef up the weather data. Number 4, we have Rushango hydrological monitoring station, which is draining from the districts of Kazo and Ibanda. Then we go down to Mpanga, number 5, which is Mpanga Kulala, which is in Kamwenge, along the bridge which is connecting Chitagwenda and Kamwenge district. Then finally we come to the number 6, which is the new hydrological monitoring station, which is telemetric. Then we have a question that why do we carry out, why do we focus on the Mpanga catchment? Yeah, according to the CMP, or the Mpanga catchment, which was developed, several land migrations have been happening due to deforestation, encroachment, and poor farming practices within the catchment. The region also faces frequent floods and dry weather conditions, which is affecting both the people and the ecosystem, as you can see in that image. Where that incident happened back in 2022 when the river flooded at some bridge as we are heading to Chitagwenda. Several erosion, yet catchment supports agriculture and biodiversity. Erosion has been an issue because of the encroachment which is done by the people. Yeah, also there is a declining water quality, also which is leading to sedimentation within the catchment and agrochemical pollution from the farmers who are using fertilizers within the catchment. Yeah, another issue is limited data due to inadequate hydrological monitoring data in the catchment. This hinders the restoration activities, the forecasting, and the sustainable planning. Yeah, though the catchment has a number of stations, but most of the stations we have been having have data which is recorded during the day. That is, to be specific, early in the morning at 9, then the other set is recorded in the afternoon. But which puts us in a tight situation where that you will not know what is happening during the night. So when we come up with this system which is telemetric and giving real-time data, we will be able to capture and know what is happening throughout the 24 hours of the day. Also, catchment restoration already underway, so which require science-based evaluation and backed data to have a successful implementation of the CMP. Actually, if we also manage to perform well in implementing all these measures which we are adopting and having a very successful station which is giving us the information, yeah, it can work as a model for rolling out throughout the country, so that we address issues in other catchment areas within the country. So the journey so far, how on hydrological monitoring within the Mpanga catchment. First, yeah, before we implemented and set up our station, we did a number of participations with the local community, the district local government, and we involved them, informing them of the work we are trying to set up and how the station is going to help in the management of the catchment and how the data is useful to the community. So in that picture, you are seeing the team of a technical team which was going to execute the work, trying to engage some of the locals. Yeah, then we went on to carry out site surveying to determine the best position and location where we can install our station. So we did thorough investigations around the site where you look at the control of the the river, that it is good, stable flows in the river. Then accessibility, we also have to look at that. We also have to engage the locals in helping us to know where this river is able to give us good information. So yeah, that is what was involved in acquiring of the site for the installation of our station. Then we put up a protective structure. This structure is to help in keeping the telemetric station which we installed to be safe, because the area where we installed the station is under a game reserve, where some wild animals at times can cross and access the site. So we have to give it a protective structure under actually a perimeter fence to see that it is safe from destruction by the animals and maybe vandalism from people who don't understand the situation. We also put up manual staff gauges. These staff gauges are manned by an observer, which observer takes readings on a daily basis. To be specific, that is at 9 in the morning and at 3 in the afternoon. He records in a data book, which we go and after a certain period, that is a quarter, maybe a quarter of the month, we go and pick this information so that we can try to analyze it. We come to installation of the telemetric data logger. Here in that photo, you can see a technical team trying to do the installations. In the background there is the data logger and the team trying to actually do the installation. So below here we see the commissioning of one of the automatic the telemetric weather station. I mean the telemetric hydrological monitoring station, which was graced by the RDC Chitagwenda district plus the team from Chitagwenda district local government, the team from Albert Water Management Zone, and the technical support unit from the Ministry of Water and Environment. So here we come to how the remote monitoring system works. Now the system, this system has what we call sensors. To be specific, at Mpanga downstream monitoring station, we are having a water level sensor, a temperature sensor, and electrical conductivity sensor. Though in the upstream, we also installed an automatic weather station, which is also going to be within the same catchment, which is also to beef up the collection of the data, which is going to be analyzed in which is going to be used in the management and the understanding of the characteristics of the Mpanga catchment. These sensors are mounted, actually they're anchored below in the river, on the riverbed, anchored on a pipe where it is fixed very well so that it cannot be easily washed away by the water. So it keeps on, so that they keep on recording the information. To be specific, that is the water level, electrical conductivity, and temperature. Then it has a data transmission system which sends the data into the cloud FTP server. Then from the server, the data is fed into a data dashboard in our data station, like here where I'm sitting. That's where we are receiving the information. When we come to use case down here, as you see, the information we are getting from this station is going to be used in water allocation, flood and drought warnings, restoration monitoring within the Mpanga catchment, and climate adaptation within the catchment. Here we are looking at the dashboard, how our system is working. You can actually see this is the hydrograph of the Mpanga River, how it is behaving. And then below is the temperature. This is the temperature distribution within that period. We actually, this is from April to date. So the next question will come to why do we get these parameters? Yeah, water levels actually they help us to detect flood, drought, and natural drawdowns. Okay, they also help us to trigger early warning systems for the Mpanga downstream. Rainfall links of rainfall pattern to river flow, wetland saturation, and land erosion. So we can also go to detect extreme rainfall upstream for upstream when we are for downstream warning, or change in seasonal rainfall to guide local agriculture, soil conservation, and climate resilience planning. Water temperature affects dissolved levels in aquatic species life, health, and biological process, like the algal bloom. It also detects the thermal pollution, climate-induced warning trends, and informing adaptive strategies in the restoration. For the wind speed, influences evapotranspiration, seed dispersion, and pollutant transportation. Detects a pattern of influence erosion and spread drift from nearby agricultural zones. Solar radiation drives photosynthesis, evaporation, and energy balance in the surface, and then helps in estimation of evaporation losses and the water balance, then assist in modeling vegetation cover, recovery, and success for afforestation zones. So opportunities. The opportunities we are going to be having is to assess the effectiveness of the catchment restoration activities in improving water quality and that is water quantity and the quality within the Mpanga River system. It is also going to help us in support of early warning system for flood, drought, and other hydrological extremes within the catchment. It also supporting climate change adaptation and sustainable water resources management, monitor water quality and flow to guide allocation and safeguard ecosystem and community resilience. It will also provide evidence-based insight for policy, planning, and long-term resilience strategies. So what next after all the opportunities we are going to get? We will be able to determine the flood transmit times across the Mpanga catchment. this has been actually a big gap because before we weren't able to know how much time it takes, like when it floods and rains upstream in Kabalore, and how long it will take to reach downstream in the Chitagwena district, where the river drains into the George Basin. We'll also be able to monitor the sediment loads and assess the erosion trends. It will also help in model river flows and restoration impact scenarios. We can also be able to develop early warning system for flood and drought within the catchment. We also be able to have sustained real-time data collection and analysis. We can also be able now to involve communities and other stakeholders in monitoring and the response. Final thought. Mpanga Catchment, we are turning data into decision and decision into resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, this information we are getting is actually getting us more informed about the catchment, and we are actually very ready to use it, utilize it in the monitoring and trying to manage the Mpanga Catchment very well. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I have to submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chigozie Frank. I've been requested by the Water Resources Institute to moderate the question and answer. So Frank, thank you so much. And I really like and love the last parting shot, where in Mpanga Catchment, we are turning data into decisions and decisions into resilience amidst the impacts of climate change. I think well done. I would request for those that have any questions, you could either put them in the chat or you could raise your hand and unmute your microphone. I'm seeing one hand up. Okay. Could you kindly unmute your microphone?
Yes, thank you very much. This is Gilbert. On that data, I saw that graph showing the temperature, the variation. I'm inquiring at what depth was the sensor put, and then maybe to explain the variation. Why is it varying too much? Was the sensor on almost the surface or below? Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gilbert, for that question. Yes, before I receive the other question, I really would love to acknowledge the support from the Conrad and N. Hilton Foundation, like intimated earlier by the country director, Water for People, that the ministry got support through the foundation to implement your catchment management measures. And equally, I'd also want to acknowledge the support we have actually had from Water for People in ensuring that we prepare adequately for this webinar. So thank you so much, Water for People, for steering us up towards this webinar. We greatly do appreciate the support. Mr. Henry, your hand is up. You could unmute your microphone as well.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Oyuro Henry. I want to thank Mr. Chigozie for his presentation. Now, I only have one question, one or two. One, Mr. Chigozie, you said now the water levels can help us point out to drought or floods. Now, I wanted to understand if there are thresholds, currently, if there are threshold water level in River Mpanga that can help us qualify drought or floods in the catchment. And then two, in your conclusion, we are turning data into decisions and decisions into resilience. What are some of the anticipated resilience measures that you already foresee? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Henry Onyuru. So I will take the first 10 questions and then, yeah, we shall give ample time to Mr. Chugozi, but I'll also request colleagues on the call that have been part and parcel of this exercise, such as Douglas Mulangwa, to actually chip in and provide support to Mr. Frank. Yeah, Mr. Richard Baguma, your hand is up. You could unmute your microphone.
Colleagues, a very good morning, colleagues. My name is Baguma Richard Rwatoro. I'm a representative of the Civil Society Coalition on Transport at the Climate Action Network Uganda. I've shared my details in the chat group. I was in Fort Portal recently. I'm glad, first of all, I should thank my colleagues for the good work they are doing. I'm passionate about Mpanga because I'm a born of Toro. It meanders through much of our land and our city, of course. But I was surprised that as soon as you enter Fort Portal town, there is a washing bay just around the river, just within the statutory boundaries of the river as provided in the regulations. And people are allowed to wash cars there with Omo, with soap and oils, and everything is going into the river. I asked myself when I was there, do we have an environmental officer for the city? Two, they have allowed someone to establish a construction establishment, the making of blocks and related material just within the territorial boundaries provided for in the law, just at the banks of the river. And of course, there are other encroachments, you see them coming up. Then there's also another problem that the river itself really needs dredging. It is silted, you see it to the full. When you go to other parts of it around Kisenya and other places, you really see pollution moving with the legs. I wanted to hear from the colleagues here who are doing work in Fort Portal, what is happening around that area? What is happening to accountability with the people mandated, the duty bearers supposed to look after this river? Because I had noted last time that the National Water complained that the cost of processing that water for drinking in Fort Portal has increased because of pollution of the river. I thank you, colleagues.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Richard Baguma, for that provocative question. What have we done? What are we doing? Yeah, we shall actually come and have answers to those provocative thoughts. Any other question for those?
I failed to raise my hand, but I have a question, if you don't mind,
Yes.
Brent.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes. First of all, thank you so much, Frank and the team, for this wonderful work you're doing. It's eye-opening. We are working in the same area, so it's good to know all these opportunities that we can perhaps share and possibly work together. My question perhaps was answered, I entered late, but I want to know how long this monitoring system has been going on so that we know the volume of data you have now, and if any decisions or opportunities have been utilized, the data has been utilized, or we are still in the collection phase of it. Has anything maybe been used so far? That depends on how long it has been, the data collection has been going on. Sorry if this was already mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Violet Kisaki. Yeah, for that. This is why we really need, of course, synergy with academia to help us we can actually use this data for good decision making. But nevertheless, we shall have some responses.
Good morning, Chair.
Yes, Mr.
Morning,
Dennis.
Chair.
Yes, Mr. Dennis, have your question met. Yeah.
Yes, I have a quick one. Thank you very much, Frank, for presenting the findings. But my question is, vis-a-vis the catchment delineated area of 4,600 square kilometers, are the 6 monitoring stations are enough for the whole entire catchment area? And what could have been the cost for coming up with these monitoring networks of the 6 which he has presented? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Dennis, for that
I failed to
question.
put up my hand. I want to ask something.
Yes, Joseph. Yes, Joseph, coming in. Yeah, I really
No,
want to thank
thanks.
those minutes for
Okay,
that
thanks,
question.
Mr. Chigozi, for presentation, and Mr. Frank. Do you intend to roll out these to other rivers? Like, I was looking at statistics. Rivers in Imbarara has like 10 years to dry up. Do you intend to roll up the monitoring systems to other rivers? Or we are only concentrating on the Mpanga catchment area?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Yeah, the question is really loud and clear, and we shall have a comprehensive feedback with that. Yeah. Let me take one final question, and then we give opportunity to Frank and Douglas. Hopefully, Douglas, you're on the call to respond at some of the questions that have been raised. Let me take one final question. Mr. Wamboza Richard. Wamboza Richard, your hand is up.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the presentation. I'm Wamboza Richard. As you've really elaborated about those monitoring mechanisms, but still, we need to look at engineering practices as well, because as you approach the bridge, you coming from Kampala, approaching that bridge of Mpanga near Garden Restaurant, for sure you can see that all the embankments, the wing walls, the head walls are not really safe. We need to look at engineering principles as well. We need to protect the bridge so that we can maneuver around and improve on safety. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Wamboza Richard, for that question. Of course, we really do acknowledge that we can have blended technologies. That is the engineering and nature-based technologies that safeguard some of the critical resource. So let me take this opportunity to invite Mr. Frank and Douglas to respond to the first set of questions, and then we shall go to the other set of questions once these have been exhaustively answered. But before Mr. Chigozi comes in, of course, I'll just provide a brief about the network, the monitoring network. Yeah, Mr. Chigozi has clearly elaborated on the spatial variation, on the spatial distribution of the monitoring network within the Mpanga catchment. And we have been fortunate enough where we have had about two to three monitoring stations funded by Water for People to increase on the issue of data. Like Frank had mentioned earlier, data has been a challenge, and without data, to know where we are going. So we really there for the water management zone in trying to ensure that we have some of these monitoring stations constructed. Yeah, Mr. Frank, maybe you could come in and respond to some of the questions, and then we shall have Douglas supplementing.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. The question about temperature variance. Okay, what happens during the installation? First of all, we first take the profile of the river. We use an equipment called an ADCP. You take the profile and you see how the depth is distributed along the cross section. Then, when you're planting these sensors, we make sure that we put it, we install it at a height from the riverbed of 0.3 meters, so that it is not easily disturbed by maybe the building segmentation, and and maybe, to be specific, it is all about not to be affected by the siltation. But the change, the varying what, it is when you see that the dashboard, the variance is not so big. It is because of the scale, but actually the gap in between the temperatures is not so big. It is because of the scale. That's why it appears to be so big. Thank you. Then about the resilience measures, Doctor, I beg you help me on that part as I still digest the other questions.
Can I come in?
Yes,
This is
thank you.
Douglas.
Yes, Douglas, come in and respond to some of the questions that have been raised.
Yeah, good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Frank, for that good presentation. And yeah, thanks to all the different colleagues and stakeholders that have worked with us on this particular project. Well, there was a question about the temperature. Well, it's not really big. The range is between 22 degrees and 25 degrees. So it's not so big. But what you're seeing as the changes, the rapid changes, that's basically the diurnal pattern, like what happens during day and night. It really varies. Like temperatures will drop at night, then during day, then they'll rise. That's why you see that what looks like noise, it's not really noise, it's the diurnal pattern. A colleague asked about thresholds. Well, we are still in the early stages of data collection. Yeah, just a brief back, because for the Fort Portal Kampala station, that was station 1, at least we have the manual observations. These go quite far back in the days of over 40 years. But the automatic station that was installed there, that was like almost 2 years ago. Then we have Rushango, that is like 2 years, coming to 2 years thereabout. Then Kabambiro, like it's almost the same period. But now these other new stations, it's like from around March. So when you look at it, we are still in the data collection phase. We wouldn't be very confident right now if we say that we are setting up thresholds with just 2 years, 1 year of data, because while setting out these thresholds, you'd want to talk about, say, return periods. You're not going to just use one year to estimate a 100-year return period. Much as you can try to do model it, you won't have much confidence with just 1 year of data doing that. There was a question about data collection duration. I think I've answered that while responding to that. Then a question about the 6 stations, are they enough? Well, at the moment, that is what we have. We can only work with what we have. We would really need more, because the higher the density of the monitoring network, data is gold itself. The more data you have or you can access, the better you can work with in terms of analysis, modeling, and forecasting. Remember, all these systems that we set up, if you're to set up a forecasting system, a modeling system, it's basically as good as the data that you give to it, as good as the modeler. The good thing, we are working on the capacity of the staff to do the modeling work and whatever is needed. So what we are working on now is the data, but this is what we have. We basically we can only work with what we have at the moment. There was a question about rolling it out to other catchments. Well, we are using Mpanga Catchment as one of the model catchments. How good this works out will be the lessons that are shared and then rolled out to the other catchments. Then there was a question about bridge protection. Well, I think that would be a question that is something we as Ministry of Water and other stakeholders would have to raise to, I think, Ministry of Works. That would fall more in their docket, but we appreciate this concern and we shall make sure that we raise it with relevant stakeholders. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Douglas, for responding to most of the questions that had been answered by Mr. Chigozie Frank. As we get into the second phase of the question set, I would also encourage Frank and Douglas to go through the chat and check through some of the questions that have been raised. But nevertheless, I just want to dress up some of the areas or questions that haven't been answered, especially one that was raised by Mr. Baguma Richard, where he pointed out an area of concern from the people that are actually washing close to the river system. Yes, this is a bit of a challenge. It's a very big challenge. We developed the Mpanga Catchment Management Plan in 2015. We raised the red flag on some of these challenges affecting water and environment resources. And for those that have a historical perspective view of how the municipality has grown into a city, there used to be an abattoir just close to the river system, and all the effluent was being dumped into the river system. We raised this red flag and the abattoir had to be shifted. Of course, it has been a slow progress, but we have really been pressing the people in authority, especially at the city, because they are the ones that actually grant out permission to use the buffer zone. So we have really been pressing, and action is actually being made. Around 2015, we would actually also find medical waste around Buhinga into the river system. We raised this red flag that we cannot have medical waste into the river system, and that has actually since stopped. So it has been a gradual process. Achievements have been made, and we are still continuing making strides. As a ministry, we have been implementing remedial catchment management measures in the Mpanga catchment since 2017. And at least we have been able to have some testimony. We have been able to reduce the siltation levels within the river system. We are not yet there where we would want to be, but at least there's been some progress that has been made. So I just wanted to comfort Mr. Baguma Richard. At least the ministry has actually been doing work, and we are continuing doing the work. And then on the issue of dredging the river systems, yeah, now siltation is a general problem, not only affecting River Mpanga, but affecting all the major rivers within the country. And what would be the most sustainable way of reducing siltation of this river? We are now employing nature-based solutions to reduce on the silt that is coming from the degraded hotspot areas. So we have been able to do pilots of nature-based, and we are actually rolling out some of these nature-based solutions that include riverbank protection, soil and water conservation measures, reforestation. So the number of solutions that we are trying to do to reduce on the siltation. Otherwise, if we are going to dredge all the river systems, it would be a cost of money. But we shall have addressed the symptom, but not the cause. So with nature-based, we are trying to tackle the cause as we also go to eradicate the symptom. So thank you very much. And let's go to the next round of questions. We shall be taking 10 questions, and then
Doctor,
we allow
can
the
I
present.
first respond to some of the questions in the chat because they are quite a number?
Okay, that is fine. Just quickly go through, and then
Okay.
I allow another set of questions. Yeah.
Well, Isaac asked about what guided the placement of the hydrological monitoring units in the catchment. Well, the first bit is the Mpanga Catchment Management Plan. It was our starting document. It guided us, and then also technical assessment of the catchment to understand which tributaries drain into River Mpanga and how we monitor their contribution towards the main River Mpanga. Those are some of the aspects that guided the placement of these stations. Then you asked if we can have this implemented in urban areas. Yes, for us to get the data that can be used to do the planning. It's important to also appreciate that in most urban centers we are faced with flash floods, which have very little lead time that we can work with. and they are very tricky to predict. But getting the data is always a good start for us to find technical solutions. Onan asked about how the availability of this data and if it's public. This data can be acquired through the stated procedures of acquiring data from the ministry. You write and it will be availed to you. Then there was Rona who asked about how the data is informing ecological aspects like biodiversity, especially in those areas that are sensitive. Well, the first bit is if at all we get to know the source of the pollution, because now like this goes through Chivale National Park. I mean, we have this wildlife that survive off this, and our bit is basically if we can ensure that the water is of good quality and it's like the animals, the birds can consume it without much problems, then the next bit of ensuring that it is useful for informing ecological aspects and biodiversity, we shall be in touch with our colleagues from the wildlife and they inform us, okay, animals migrated, or we are now getting more animals trying to live closer to these water resources. About the determination of points of pollution, well, for now, what we think, like what we had in mind was this pollution could be from, say, where we have washing bays that are giving off point pollution into the rivers, like diesel, oils, and all that, where we have farms and there's lots of fertilization and the spraying of the fertilizers, but that is all work that is ongoing. We are trying to collect water quality data as well. Our water quality team is doing all it can, so we shall be having all the comprehensive understanding of the sources of pollution. Then Gilbert asked about challenges of data transmission to the cloud. Now at the moment, we are not having any. We are like the data is being transmitted seamlessly. So at the moment, we don't have we are not having any challenges. How the data is being disseminated to the locals? Well, what we are doing with the locals, we are engaging them more with our social science team and the technical team. We may not necessarily disseminate to them the data itself, because if you tell someone in the village that, okay, the water level is this or the temperature is this, they'll be like, so what? So what we are trying to do is we are trying to tailor this data into a message for them to appreciate that, okay, this is the implication of this to whatever activity they are doing, if it's agriculture, farming, fishing, whatever it is. So we are working towards tailoring a message in that particular aspect. I think those are all the questions I can find immediately. Yeah. Dr. Brian, I think you can take over now.
Yeah, thank you, Douglas, for responding to most of the questions in the chat. Let's take another round of questions. Mr. Semfuma Samuel, your hand is up.
Thank you, Brian and Frank, for that informative presentation. Just a few questions here. What are the checks and balances, especially for the manual data that is collected manually? You know, how do you validate that data for accurate conclusions and analysis? Then when Frank was presenting, is where he mentioned about data being helpful in water allocations. So I'm wondering, is it groundwater potential sites or recharge zones for this case? Thank you very much.
Dr. Brian?
Are we losing network?
Maybe
Looks,
he has
looks
lost
like,
the network. We can have
looks like
another
we've lost the
person. Can we have another person? More questions as we wait for Dr. Brian to come on back on air. Can I have some more questions? He had proposed about 10 about 10 questions at least for this round of questions that he has proposed. Anybody online that want to ask a question or propose a question in the chat? Please go ahead.
Hello, can you now hear me?
Brian, who can hear you correctly. It's all about that.
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Gwendolyn. Yeah, Mr. Douglas, could you respond? I think there was a question from Mr. Senfuma Samuel. Could we have a response to that?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Brian. The question from someone about validation of the manual data. Well, at any given station, WRIs have both the manual data and then the automatic data. Most of the times, because our starting point is with the manual data that we set up, and then we calibrate, because we first calibrate the manual gauges, the placements, and everything. Then after that, we use that data to calibrate and set up the automatic data. So in the end, we expect that it should be very close data, or it shouldn't be more than it shouldn't be like more than 5 to 10 millimeters in difference if there is, but they shouldn't be because they are calibrated to the same data. So that's how we will carry out the checks and quality assurance between the two. Because anywhere we have an automatic station, we have a manual station, we always compare both data sets to see how they compare with each other. Well, you asked about how the system is being used for water allocation decisions. Well, we base on this data for availability to know how much can be extracted for other uses, while ensuring that the ecosystem is not disrupted. I mean, we are looking at aquatic life and everything within the river, all the other, the humans, the wildlife that draw their lives, that live off this river are not impacted. So that's how this data is used. You asked about groundwater. Well, what we have basically groundwater potential station that we monitor regularly, because we're quite close. We have a few boreholes, so we use this to monitor if at all the extraction isn't affecting so much how much water we have within our aquifer. From the chat, David asked about how they will be kept in the loop for progress. Well, we shall routinely be communicating, having such webinars like this or within the Water Resources Institute to share more about River Mpanga. You'll appreciate this is not the first time we've had a webinar about the work we've done in River Mpanga, so we shall keep doing this. The reports about the project are always public, and we shall also have other means of sharing this information as and when we have any progress. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Douglas, for that supplement to the for answering the questions that have been raised by Mr. Senfuma Samuel. Yeah, do we have any other questions? It has really been quite an exciting webinar, and this has been testified by the response and interest it has garnered from those in attendance. Yeah, any other questions? We need to wrap this up.
Yes, if I may. Hello, everybody. I'm Gabriel.
Yes, Gabriel.
Yes, hi, Brian. And yeah, thank you, Frank. Thank you, Douglas, for the explanations and the nice presentation. I'm really interested in the river Mpanga. Actually, I'm working together with the ministry to also model the river Mpanga and data availability is an issue, especially for the past. So I'm very happy to see that there's some progress and new stations built up. I was just wondering on a very practical way, since the discharge and the water level really depend on the cross-section of the river Mpanga. I was wondering how you maintain the cross-section, because it might change over time, and therefore also the water level readings might change. So I was just wondering, how do you try to have a consistent cross-section of the river? Is it somehow stabilized, or do you adjust it afterwards? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriel, for that question. Mr. Frank, you could comment about the station siting and how we're able to get much more reliable data. Franco, Doug?
Yes, Doctor, thank you. Thank you, Gabriel, for the question. Now, actually, before we set up any hydrological monitoring station, we have to go to a specific site. Then we try to, using the ADCP, we try to do a number of transects within a certain range of around 100 meters. We do a number of transects and see which station is more stable, and where there is stable flow, where there is no scouring, and actually water spilling over the banks. This section we chose is actually very stable. Maybe with time it can change, but for now, the station is very, very stable. It can.
I would request those
sorry.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. As I was saying that we first take a number of cross sections, and then we choose the one which is more stable, and water is not spilling over the banks, and the flow is actually stable. There is no any turbulence around this point. I believe it will take us for some time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Chigozi, for that response. Of course, site selection is quite critical and in establishing a hydrological station. Do we any other questions before we go to the wrap up of the session?
Gracious is my name, and here at National Water. I wanted to thank the presenter. That was a very good and insightful kind of presentation. I would like, however, want to make a few observations that much as this is a pilot, I have seen several other monitoring stations being set up on other rivers in other parts of the country, especially the eastern. I think I've seen it in Bulambuli, I've seen them in Sironko, I've seen them in Mbale. And these are areas that are actually more prone to actually a lot of flooding and sometimes spread of disease. Now, my question here is that how far are we going to go in terms of pushing this information to the person on the ground, that peasant who is actually relying on this, but ignorantly not knowing that they're actually having an impact on this river? The information is so nice for us, this other side, from the policy perspective and in the offices, but the actual person on the ground, how is this information reaching him or her in a timely manner and in an informative way for them to really appreciate this very good and noble work? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Deogracius Rumaga. We really do appreciate, of course, the support that comes in from National Water. Quite insightful, and if there are any other questions, Then we can have a consolidated response. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Joseph Mugisha.
It's actually, Mr. Selmaga talked about what I was supposed to add on, but I haven't gotten a hint about sustainability of these projects. Are they one on, or we are looking at something that is going to last for long?
Okay.
Two, how permanent are they to the extent that in case a river floods out, we are not losing the whole investment?
Okay.
That's my question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Joseph Mukisha. Of course, we really do plan as a ministry to ensure that the stations are located at a much more safer place. But of course, with the uncertainty of climate change, yeah, we sometimes, of course, we get into trouble. But nevertheless, we'll request a response from Mr. Chukwueze Frank or Mr. Douglas. If there's any other question, I really need to come to wrap this up. Any other question? So let's have the final responses and then we go to the closing part of the webinar.
Thank you, colleagues, for the questions. Deogracias asked about how we intend to have this communication on the ground. You should have noticed that since the start, for the past 14 years or thereabout, we've had our water management zones. These help us get closer to the local community, but on top of that, we are working closely with the different technical staff at the district that can really help us. And another approach that the ministry is using right now, we're ensuring that we have social scientists on team that help us communicate with the communities. Anytime we go to any particular community for any activity, we always ensure that there is also that other aspect of engaging with the communities, because first of all, we need to get them interested and appreciate exactly what is going on, what we are doing, appreciate why we need this data or why we need these investments. And then the next bit is, once their interest is raised in regards to this data that we are collecting, then it makes it much easier for us to communicate to them that, okay, from this station or with this data, these are the implications. We intend more to tailor our message towards the implication. What does this data mean for the person on the ground, the last mile person? And that is the direction that we are taking as the Ministry of Water and Environment. Joseph asked about sustainability. We've really tried to ensure that we use the best material that we can get on site, and also the structures are very sound and they can withstand for a long time. We are not building structures that are looking at 5 years also. And also the other aspect of sustainability could be having this infrastructure or the data collection going on beyond the project time frame. All this work is done with the Ministry of Water, and Ministry of Water has been carrying out the managing, running, and maintenance of these stations for so long, for decades and decades. So we shall just expand, and we are just expanding and having this added onto our network as those that we manage and maintain. So about sustainability, this is an investment that is not just for 1 day, 1 month, 2 years, but it's on for as long as the ministry exists. Impact of flooding on infrastructure. Well, the infrastructure is sound, but as Dr. Brian said, in the face of climate change, where on the either side of a drought or flood, the extremes become, the frequency of those extremes is high, and also the magnitude is higher. You may not know how high this goes, but where we've placed them, we've done adequate reconnaissance survey to be sure that even at the highest level of flooding, the infrastructure or the instrument are safe. yeah, much as right now there is a new direction that we're thinking of. How do we imagine flooding where it has never happened? So we're also having that in mind, that on top of where the local community tells us that, okay, the highest time it flooded, the water got to this particular level, we give an allowance and we're like, okay, we need to allow an extra half a meter, an extra 1 meter, if in case flooding occurs in places it has never occurred, or it gets to levels that it has never reached. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Douglas,
Let me add on
for
something also.
response to the questions that have been raised. We are now moving into the closing part of today's webinar. But first of all, as I do the wrap up, I really need to appreciate the partners that have really enabled us, that have given us the platform to showcase some of these innovations. Something that Mr. Frank missed out, that on this particular monitoring station, it is the one of its kind that combines a surface water level monitoring with a physical chemical parameter monitoring, that is the temperature and EC. It is the one of its kind across our monitoring network. So as I do the wrap up on the presentation that has been made, harnessing real-time data, advancing water resources management through hydrological monitoring. And key to what has actually been mentioned from the presentation and also from the participants, one from the presentation, of course, highlighting the challenges of limited data in water resources management and how it impacts on decision making, and how this monitoring is actually coming in to filling in that void to aid the Ministry of Water and Environment to ensure that we plan better in terms of water allocation. We're able to monitor pollution, and then we're also able to do the flood modeling and analysis, and also create climate adaptive measures. And all these are coming in to support decision making for the ministry to ensure that we plan much more better for the water resources. And how the monitoring also fits into play to the implementation of the National Development Plan 4. As you might be aware, there are certain key sectors that are highly dependent on water resources, and these are key priorities for springboarding our economy tenfold. And industrialization has been at the core of the government's agenda, tourism, and so many other sectors, mineral development, and all these are highly dependent on water resources. So without the data, of course, it limits our potential in ensuring that water is available to the key critical sectors that are supposed to be springboarding our economy. And from the different questions that have really come in, we really do appreciate the interest you've actually had in today's webinar, and most of them are reflective, and of course we shall do a much more better, but also see how best we trickle down some of this information. The hallmark of catchment-based water resources management is stakeholder involvement. And this has been at the pinnacle of our decentralization to the regions. So from the time we decentralized, we have actually been able to go up to the grassroots level to ensure that some of this complex scientific jargon is broken down to the common man. What does it mean for a common man to use herbicides in relationship to contamination of groundwater, in relationship to pollution of the surface water? So this has actually been this has actually been broken down to the common man's jargon, and it's well appreciated. So catchment-based water resource management has been central to ensuring that we reach out to almost everyone from the grassroots up to the top. It has been more of a bottom-up approach. So we greatly appreciate most of the comments, and And we are very thankful for the participation. So I would really want to say thank you once again to our partners, Water for People, as well as the funding entity, that is the Conrad and N. Hilton Foundation, that has enabled us to construct a monitoring station at the outlet of River Mpanga. So thank you very much, and I would want to take this opportunity to invite the coordinator, Water Resources Institute, to come in and have remarks made. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Brian. I think I don't have so much to say. Brian has exhausted what we do at the Ministry of Water and Environment, and he has also expounded on how catchment-based water resources management has been in an inclusive approach to managing the water and even to developing the water. You know very well that currently the ministry has got 6 regional establishments or regional deconcentrated structures that manage the water, develop the water, manage the environment at the source, near the users, near the participants, near the stakeholders. And through this one, I think now everybody knows what water and environment is all about, what the Minister of Water and Environment is all about, and I appreciate the participation of all the stakeholders that join hands with the Minister of Water to manage and regulate and develop the water resources, and also manage the environment, to restore the wetlands, keep our forests intact. And you know that data, it is very important, as has been described by Dr. Guma and the presenters, Chigozi, that without data, we won't know how much water we have. Without data, we don't know how much water we are using. Without data, we don't know how much water we're going to have in 50 years to come. So the use of data, we can easily, sustainably, and equitably develop the water resources, at the same time also manage the environment to keep ourselves safe. Because if we destroy our environment, if we destroy our water sources, I don't know whether we can live. Because as it is said, nature can live without us, but we cannot live without nature. Otherwise, I want to thank you all. The participation has been good, more than 80%, more than 80 participants who participated in this webinar. Please, you're welcome always to participate every last Friday in the month. We have got our monthly webinars, and we are continuing to have more monthly webinars as we proceed. You never know, maybe in the future, may have more than 2 in a month. But currently, we are holding only 1 webinar in the month. And we are attracting people to come and present. Don't fear that I don't have something to share with the communities or with the stakeholders. What you think it is not important in your eyes, it may be important for all of us as stakeholders. Please, you always have our emails sent to you. Use the same email to express your interest to participate in these webinars. You can even be a local farm and say, how am I using water to irrigate my tomato gardens? And that one can be important for all of us. Please, members, think about it. Write to us as Water Resources Institute. We shall schedule and also present you what you do. It doesn't have to be research. Even what you do, the practical part of use of water, the practical part of managing the environment around your home, around your village, around your community is very important for us to share with our stakeholders. Otherwise, thanks very much, and I wish you a blessed weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a blessed weekend too.
Blessed weekend to you all.
Thank you and bye. Leave.